Ready, Kim? I'm ready. Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. We're glad to see so many of you here. I'm Dr. Diane Bales. I am the Child Life Program Director at UGA. For those of you I have not met, it's good to meet you. I was actually at some class next semester, and looking forward to that. Most of you know Professor Stephanie Whitman. Many of you are in class with her. She is their Child Life Coordinator. And this is Kim Allen, who is the manager of the Child Life Program at Children's Hospital of Georgia and our partner in the Joy program. And I'm going to turn over to you because you're the one who has all the information to share.
I will.
So welcome. We're glad you're here. Kim came up from Augusta today to be here, so we appreciate that.
That whole way from Augusta, Georgia.
She didn't get any feedback or anything.
No, that's right. That's right. I didn't see any livestock on the way up. So just to give you a little background on me, I am the Child Life Manager of the Children's Hospital of Georgia Child Life Program. I have 7 staff members and 2 furry friends who work with me. We have 2 facility dogs. I'm the secondary handler for Nugget, one of our facility dogs. And Nugget comes with me over to Hemo Clinic and sees Hemo patients a bunch. So some of the other, I guess, little hats that I wear at the hospital is I am adjunct faculty at Augusta University, where I instruct 30 credits for our interns who come and spend their entire year with us at in Augusta. Okay. And we're going to talk, that's why I'm here, is to talk about the Child Life internship. So we'll get into a bunch of details about that. Some of the other things that my staff do and that I'm responsible for, we have 5 summer camps for kids, and we plan, organize, coordinate, and implement all of those. I particularly am the director for Camp Rainbow, which is our cancer camp for kids. And then I do 2 family camps. One is Sharing Care. It is for families that have a newly diagnosed oncology patient. And then another is DASH, which is for families who have lost a child to a chronic illness. And the reason why it's called DASH, because we're just like, that's the weirdest name. Well, there is when you die, there is a date on your tombstone, and there is a birth date and a death date, and there's a dash in between, and that's what's important. So that's what we do. We celebrate the dash with these families. What are my other hats? I have a master's degree in child life from what is now Boston University, but was Wheelock College back in the day. And I have what I would like to say, everything but my dissertation done for my doctoral work at the Ohio State University. And yes, you have to say it like that, whatever. I didn't finish up. I was getting my committee together, ready to do all my research. And then I moved to Georgia. So that's where we are with that. I guess I'm excited about the University of Georgia being #1. I have 2 graduates from the University of Georgia. My daughter just graduated in May, and my son graduated 2 years ago. So I had to wear a color that I despise, which is RED, which she's lovingly wearing when I came to football games and watched my kid on the field. So that was pretty exciting. So it's weird being here. I just took a picture of the empty stadium and sent it to both my kids and said it's weird being here and not having a student here, because I have for the past 6 years. So this is my first time on campus without having a student here. So that's kind of strange, but that's all right. So you guys, who is interested in child life? Who's interested in child life as a career? Fabulous. You're in the right place. Okay. So let's chat. So how to become a child life specialist? Now, you probably already know this, but just give me a minute. You have to earn a bachelor's degree, right? You have to take 10 college level courses in child life or related subjects. And our professional organization, the Association of Child Life Professionals, if you've never been on that website before, I'd strongly encourage you to go there, www.childlife.org. It tells you everything you've ever wanted to know and then some, right? They'll give you ideas about what your 10 college courses need to be. At least one has to be taught by a certified child life specialist. If you guys are taking Stephanie's class, then that qualifies, you're good. You also have to complete a 600-hour internship. There's the course taught by a child life specialist, and then you have to sit for and pass the child life certification exam. That is how you become a certified child life specialist. As a hiring manager in the field, I will tell you that I can only hire people who are eligible to sit for the exam. And they must pass the exam within a year of their employment, because the exam is given at different times, and if that doesn't coincide, blah, blah, blah. So most places are like that and will give you a year to take the test. Now, the next question that comes up is, have you ever had to fire somebody who didn't pass the test? And the answer for me, is yes. I had a child life specialist who took the test 3 times. She couldn't pass it at all, so I had to dismiss her. Because that's what my policy states. So the certification exam, which is what is driving this 600-hour internship and the 10 college level courses and the course taught by the child life specialist and the earning the bachelor's degree, is what dictates how you become certified. See how that all fits together? Good. Next. A traditional internship is usually about 15 weeks. Some of them are 12 weeks. You just need to have 600 hours. It's usually 1 school semester, right? So you go for 6 weeks, or you go for 3 months and you stay somewhere. You might go to a neighboring county. You might stay with a cousin in Idaho. You might get an Airbnb. Who knows? You just go somewhere and do your internship after you've applied and been accepted at an internship site. Most of those have 1 or 2 rotations, which means you're going to go to, say, surgery for your first part of your internship, and then maybe to the clinic for your second part of the internship. You will most likely not see all areas of the hospital. You'll probably tour around, but you won't stay there. I will give you an example. My graduate internship, I did 2 of them. One was at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute in Boston, and I was purely with HEMONC kids for my entire semester, for the entire fall semester. My second internship was at Children's Hospital of Boston, and I was in 1 area for the entire time. So I worked with cystic fibrosis patients on a medical unit, okay? And I was there for the entire time, so I didn't see anything else. I did a research study in the emergency room, but other than that, I was stuck up on 9 and doing my stuff with my kids, right? Okay. Next. Our internship is a little bit different. Now, the first thing is that it is a full academic year. So you come to Augusta in August and you stay in Augusta until May. Now, let's just talk about it. No, Augusta, Georgia is not Athens, Georgia, right? We don't have a football team, and you're not eligible for football tickets. Sometimes that's a big deal, but you can always buy them on StubHub or TickPix or wherever. So the second thing is that you have to figure out where you're going to live. The biggest part about that is, after having 2 kids, I just explained to you, I know the struggle is real trying to find a place to live in Athens, Georgia. The struggle is not like that in Augusta, Georgia. Apartments are aplenty. You could probably go this week and get an apartment to move into next week, right? And for about a lot less rent than you're paying in Athens, Georgia, just for the record. So it's a little bit different, right? You will have 5 to 6 different rotations. You rotate through everywhere where I have a staff person who is eligible to supervise a student. Now, what do I mean by that? Child Life puts out a stipulation that you have to have so many professional hours before you can supervise a student. If I just started my job today, you probably don't want to be my student anyway, because I'm still trying to figure out what's going on, right? So you have to have 4,000 hours of paid child life experience before you can supervise a student, which is approximately 2 years, right? Right now, every one of my staff members is eligible to supervise a student. So the students that I have in my program right now, I have 3 from here and 1 unaffiliated student. All 4 of those students can go to every one of my staff people, okay? Now, what's the advantage of that? Well, like I said in the previous example, I saw oncology kids and I saw cystic fibrosis kids in my graduate internship, right? I had no experience in a clinic environment, in an OR, in an ER. I had none of that, in a sedation unit, none of that. Here, you will go to all the different areas where I have staff. So that is surgery, inpatient and outpatient. That is the clinic that sees 300 kids a day. I have a clinic child life specialist. So you see all kinds of stuff over in the clinic. I have a medical child life specialist who does EKG monitoring. She also is my sedation consult person, and she's on the medical unit. You will have an ER child life specialist who does the emergency room, and she does the pediatric intensive care unit. So you get that experience. And then I have a dog handler rotation where you learn, I guess, unless we've not had a student who's been highly allergic to dogs, but if you were, we'd have to accommodate for that. Where you learn how to use a facility dog in your daily child life practice, right? So those are kind of all of our different rotations. Some of them are 8 weeks, but minimum is 4 weeks, okay? You'll have at least 1,248 hours. That's what you need to graduate. But I will tell you that most of our students get between 15 and 1,800 hours. And the reason why is because, say you're working in the emergency room, you're working the emergency room shifts, okay? So you're coming in on a Sunday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and staying until midnight. Now, you also have obligations, which we'll get to in a minute, throughout the week. So you might be coming in on another random Wednesday morning to do developmental play groups with infants and toddlers. So that's how you get so many hours. In addition to all of our other special events and camp activities, which we are certainly asking if students and interns want to help us with all of those kind of things. You see all areas of the hospital where child life is present. And here is my biggest bragging point. I just need to say it. I've been doing this, by the way, I just flipped it up. 28, 29 in February. Okay. That's me. Well, but that's me, but so whatever you want to do. Yeah, whatever you want to do. We have, in all of the years that I've been doing it, every student who has gone through my internship program has passed the child life certification exam. I'm not sure anybody else in the country can say that, by the way. There are people that have to take it a couple times to get past, but yes, so it's pretty impressive that all of my students have been able to do that. Okay. What is Augusta like? It's not Athens, but there's still a lot of fun things to do around the city. Interestingly enough, I just thought I'd tell you, this PowerPoint is actually one of my students' unit goals. Okay, so every student does a project and they can pick whatever they want to do. This student wanted to do a recruiting informational video for students. So this is what she came up with. Bonuses, great cake. Yeah. Okay, so the picture over there with the cake, we have a restaurant called the Bull Weevil. It's downtown on the river, and they make amazingly great desserts, as you can see, and she was really liking that. We are on the Augusta Canal, and there's like walking paths and all kinds of stuff, beautiful scenery, and then fun holiday lights. I don't know why she thought that was fun, but apparently she did. So that's what she had to do. I will tell you that it's not, if you are used to, and no judgment because you're all college students, if you're used to going downtown Athens every single night, Augusta's a little bit different, right? We are a little bit more of a professional town. We have a medical school, we have a cybersecurity mecca for training kind of things. So it's not a campus, dare I say, bar hopping kind of atmosphere. But I also will tell you that we keep you pretty busy, and you are really kind of hovering between that step of being still in academics and being a grown-up, like going into your grown-up profession kind of thing. So somewhere in the middle is where Augusta is, if that makes any sense. Questions about that? Usually that's a big deal when you say, oh, you gotta spend your entire senior year at Augusta. We keep you so busy. It's really kind of a fun place. We have a minor league baseball team that's right down on the river. There's stuff to do. We have all kinds of little festivals, and we just finished Arts in the Heart was last weekend. I think they canceled all the festivals for this weekend because something about we might get rain, yeah, whatever. I'm saying that sarcastically because we've been hearing since Monday that we might get people from Savannah evacuating and da 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 da. So I'm like, oh, my staff was like, yeah, did you hear about the storm? I'm like, storm. I'm like, yes, I've been listening to it since last Friday when they were talking about evacuations and how do we make enough beds. So yes, we are a hospital and a functioning hospital, and we have to do whatever we need to do to help people around the state get by, right?
I think there's a little golf tournament in Augusta.
There is a little golf tournament in Augusta. In case you've heard of that, I will say, and I was telling Dr. Bales that all of my students, all of my interns last year worked at that little golf festival or little golf tournament. And made about $2 grand in 1 week. So it's a pretty good it's a pretty good side hustle, just putting it out there. And they worked in gift shops where they saw people like Justin Timberlake and Leo DiCaprio walked in, and yeah, well, some pretty big name people. Now, of course, they're not allowed to have their phones because you're not allowed to have your phone at the Augusta National. So there's really no evidence to prove that they saw those people. But apparently, yeah, so they're selling shirts to like Patrick Mahomes. So there's that. Anyway, yeah. So this is the Children's Hospital of Georgia. So we are a children's hospital that is attached to an adult facility, right? So all of these, that building that you're looking at there is all of the kids' side. Okay. What you will learn. This is what I teach you. You guys are learning this in your courses, right? You're learning about coping distraction, but you will actually get to do it. It's kind of fun because one of our assignments this week was a procedural support. And so I ask everyone, I'm like, are you guys all seeing procedures? And the girl who's in the emergency room right now raised her hand and said, I saw 12 procedures yesterday. So just to give you an idea, I was interviewing for my latest position, and I asked a girl if she saw what is her favorite procedural support. And her answer to me was, well, I was in the NICU for my child life internship. And so I really just saw a nurse start an IV. And I was like, ooh, okay, like, yes. Yikes. Okay, that's great. Well, did you try anything? He's thinking that she's going to say something, music or soothing touch or something. Nope, I just watched the nurse. This is a girl legit interviewing for a child life position. And that was her procedure. And I said, oh, okay. And then I was like, did you see any other procedures? No, that was it. Your internship was 8 weeks in the NICU and you never saw any other procedures. So you tell me what you might have done for coping and distraction. Oh, I'm not really sure. Okay. Anyway, so coping and distraction is real important. And like our ER child life specialist saw almost into the double digits in one shift, right? Just hopping from place to place. Preparation, preparing kids for hospital experiences. If you are with my staff member who's in surgery, for example, you will do that. This morning we had 27 cases, so she did that 27 times before 10 o'clock this morning. Okay, preparing kids for surgery. Medical play, administration, that's kind of the bonus that you get when you actually rotate during the HEMONC rotation, because that's me, and I teach you about budgets and about personnel budgets and foundation and grant writing and that kind of fun stuff. Pain management, we're doing all the time. Family support, we are definitely a patient family centered care institution. That's very important. That is what our entire building is built on, that premise. So family support is a big thing. Thankfully, with COVID kind of not going away, but going by the side, shall we say, we're getting more siblings that can come in. We've opened up our playrooms, which has been amazing. We've had some special events, which is even more amazing. We're starting to think about how are we going to do trick or treat. For the past 2 years, we've done it really, really weird. So we're trying to figure out how we can do it this year and how we can do it safely. And then of course, normalization. So. All right, what you will learn in-depth child development. You're getting stuff in your classes, but then you're going to have to relate it when you walk into the hospital, right? Cultural diversity. We serve a variety of patients and families. Common diagnosis and procedures, assessment skills, flexibility. That should be at the top. That is the first thing that I say to my interns when they walk into the door. It's written on my board when they walk into the classroom where we do class. It says flexibility is key. When you walk into the hospital, when you walk in as a child life specialist, you might have this great idea of what your day is going to look like. And then all of a sudden you get a page and you need to go to the adult side and help two children who are about to lose their mom. So go. Like your day has just been changed, right? I'm not going over to Hemont Clinic. I'm going over to shock trauma. We're going to talk about saying goodbye to dad. We're going to talk about how you understand this, right? I might spend 20 minutes with that family. I might spend 3 hours with that family. Just depends. Death and dying, you will learn about what legacy building kind of things that we do. We also, I also teach a death and dying seminar in the spring semester of the year-long internship, where we talk about specific stuff of death and dying to child life specialists. All right, what's administration? Behind the scenes work, child life work, including budgeting, donations, special event planning, monthly reports, charting, statistics, pet therapy donations, superheroes, those are the little visits. So you get not only the direct work with child life, but you also get the indirect work with child life. I would add to that camp planning. We start camp planning in January. We start recruiting counselors, we start interviewing counselors, and interns are a part of that. So what classes do you take? You take student seminar, you take medical terminology, you take death and dying, you take a life class. So life class pre-COVID was, it's an acronym for learning in family environments. And what I would do is assign each intern to a family with a chronic illness. So say you have a family who is a newly diagnosed type 1 diabetic. You will go to, one of the students went to the grocery store and mom said, hey, you get to decide what we're going to cook for dinner tonight. So you get to go read all the labels, you get to plan, you get to carb count, you get to go home, we're all going to cook together, and then we're going to eat the meal, and then we're going to have game night. So it was the intern's opportunity to learn about diseases outside the walls of the hospital. Right, diabetes doesn't go away once the kid walks out the hospital. So how do you live with a chronic diagnosis? How do you live with cancer? How do you live with somebody who is a quadriplegic? How do you bathe them? How do you do that? So pre-COVID, we would send the interns out. Since we're still COVID-ish, we haven't done that for a while, and I've made the executive decision that this group is going to do my alternative assignments as well. Hopefully next year in the fall, we'll be good to go and we'll be ready to assign families. I have families who know about this program and are like, pick me, we want to host a student. We want to teach them all, and we sit down with the mom and say, well, how did you get diagnosed? How did you find out that your child had cancer? What was that whole process like? So that's one of the assignments, is to find out the diagnosis process and go through the whole part of that with the family. And then cram for the exam is kind of, that's not really a class, but we give you some study tips for what is the best way to study for the examination. Of course, we do practice tests that are out there floating around in the world. So yeah, that helps you get prepared for the exam. Life class we just talked about. So these are some of our families, and there's some of their events. Spend time with the family, learn what day-to-day is like outside the hospital. Hey, I think I just said that. They went to a fall festival, so that's where she is. I think if you keep going, I think there's some more life classes. Yep. So there's Joey, and she helped decorate his room. He loved the movie Cars. So they decorated his room, and then she also brought him a Cars soundtrack that we got from the hospital, and they listened to that. So some of the benefits of a year-long internship is that you have different rotations. You have experienced supervisors, right? All of us practice child life specialists, child life differently, right? So my ER child life specialist, who also works in the PICU, might practice child life differently in the ER versus in the PICU. The other piece is that you get to see all of our supervisory styles, right? For better or for worse, because we all are very unique. And we add our own little spin to how we introduce our services, how we talk to kids, how we interact with our populations. You get to see the hospital in all different seasons. So you get to see trick or treat, you get to see Christmas, you get to see Valentine's Day, you get to see, we're not allowed to call it Easter, but we call it Spring Basket Day. So those kind of things, yes. Be fully prepared to take the certification exam, and you have lots and lots of experiences with kids and families. So when you're interviewing for your position and somebody asks, what is the procedural support that you did? You will not say that I watched a nurse in the NICU do an IV, because you might do that on your first day, but other than that, you're going to be doing stuff, right? And jumping right in and learning all those skills. So the rotations that we have currently, and again, this changes. I have an open position. Hopefully, if I get that person, and who knows, maybe if somebody comes out of the woodwork in their experience, they'll be able to take an intern. My open position is my float position, and it's also sedation. But right now we have general pediatrics, which is an inpatient floor. We have hematology oncology, which is inpatient and outpatient. We have the clinics position, which sees approximately 300 kids every day, all different types of clinics, from surgery to abuse to renal to rheumatoid to everything. The emergency room PICU is one rotation, and then surgery. My surgery child life specialist gets to the hospital at a lovely hour of 6 in the morning, preps kids for surgery, and then she gets to walk out the door at 2:30 in the afternoon. You're able to see all different areas of the hospital where child life is present. The other rotation that's not on there is the facility dog one. And that is my facility dog. My facility dogs, we're trying to figure out. I just got a secondary handler for one of them. So we're trying to figure out, she mostly spends her time in cardiology clinic and then general clinics. And then she sees all the hemonc referrals for the dog. But she also kind of cross covers for our surgical med unit if needed. So she's a little bit all over the place with Nugget. So, and Nugget gets very tired, and Nugget is, I don't want to call her lazy, but her favorite thing to do is nap. We'll just put it that way, like that's her trick. Funny story, and I'll just do it aside because I just got distracted. We did a research study with Purdue University about facility dogs and their handlers. And basically we had to put like a Fitbit on Nugget to track her steps. And then they also tracked our steps. And then we would get these little pings and it would say, how are you feeling? What are you doing? Are you headed to a procedure? What are you doing with kids? Well, they called us, it was a 2-week study. They called us 2 days into it and said, we really need you to check Nugget's Fitbit. We were like, why? And they're like, because she doesn't have enough steps. And we're like, no, that's Nugget. She just finds a bed, or she finds some place where she can sit, or a recliner, and then she's snoring within 2 minutes. Like the dog needs some kind of a C, my husband calls it a C cup instead of a C cup, because she snores like a banshee. I mean, really, really loud. But it was funny that they called because they thought the Fitbit wasn't working. Like, no, that's just Nugget. That's just the way she is. Seasons and holidays. So we talked about that. You get to see, trick or treat, Thanksgiving, all of the things that we do. Who is teaching you? I'm not going to say anything, but 1, 2, 3. 3 of those people are graduates of the program. And then the other 2 went to another school actually 4 of them are graduates of the program. And 1 went to another school kind of south in the state, and we're just gonna keep going. You know what I'm talking about. We have 100% pass rate, cram, weekly student seminars. So we meet weekly to talk about certain things. Like yesterday, I was telling Diane, we did our preparation seminar. So we talked about preparation, we talked about evidence-based practice and what the research tells us, because I know that all the students sitting in the room have preparation experience and know about preparation from their work up here. We just add to that. And then we have weekly student seminars to discuss that. They have also assignments. So they do written assignments, logs, procedural supports, behavioral observations. This week it was an assertiveness inventory. It was a playroom, environmental evaluation. They have quizzes weekly on readings that I give to them to read based on the topic that we're going to talk about at seminar. And all of that is turned in. They have weekly meetings with their supervisors to talk about what's going on in their units in the week. Do they have any questions? How would they prioritize patients that they've seen? So we also have something called developmental play groups. So interns, this is kind of like the intern's baby. And I give this to interns as a group project. In the field of child life, you work a lot as a group, right? So every week they plan 3 different activities. On Tuesdays, it's for teenagers. So they do teen night, okay? On Wednesdays, it's for infants, toddlers, and preschoolers. And then on Thursdays, it's for school agers. They have to come up with a developmental milestone that they're working towards. So for infants, reaching and grasping. Then they have to come up with an activity that is going to encourage their infants during developmental play groups to reach and grasp, okay? For teens, it might be socialization. So they're going to bring a couple teens into the activity room and they're going to play emotion Uno. So that will get them to talk about their feelings. And then they also do medical play Mondays in the spring. So they have to plan a medical activity, and it's very similar to developmental play groups, but it's a medical focus. The haunted playroom, we'll see if we can do that this year. Usually the interns turn a playroom into the haunted playroom, where the kids get to creep out the staff. So they plan it, they hang all the sheets, they plan all the areas where they're going to squirt stuff at staff. And then all of the staff, the doctors, the residents, the medical students, the nursing staff, everybody goes through and the kids are in the playroom scaring the staff. A little bit of mastery, a little bit of role reversal, right? Some fun. They also do healthy grandparenting. So we have an agreement with the School of Nursing. There is a social worker who does a program where grandparents who are raising their children have a support group once a month. Okay. And our interns work with the kids while the grannies are all in the support group with the social worker. We do this for the main reason why we do this is to help our interns keep their pulse on normal, typical development. If you spend your entire 8 months only seeing kids in the hospital, you get a skewed point of view, right? Kids, a 3-year-old in the hospital who's sick and just been diagnosed with cancer is not the 3-year-old that you would see at Target, right? So this is kind of an opportunity for students to plan activities for typically developing kids, and it helps them with their comparison of what they're seeing upstairs and in the hospital or in the ER or in clinic, and then what they're seeing at healthy grandparenting. Okay, we already talked about this. Another part of developmental playgroups is the interns have to plan it. I just kind of say, hey, this is what you guys need to do. These are the times that you're going to do it. You have to figure out how to advertise it. You have to keep track of statistics and turn it into me every month. And oh, by the way, here's your budget. So I will meet you at Walmart at the cash register at 4 o'clock this afternoon and you guys go buy all the stuff for it. So it's totally their activity. They have to plan, implement, coordinate, and assess it. And they're responsible, like I said, for budgeting, kind of the admin part of it. The only thing that me as a supervisor, my only responsibility is to write down names of who should participate from my service area, right? And the interns take it from there. So they have to work together as a group to plan it, to make sure it's developmentally appropriate, and then to implement it.
Do they do that both semesters?
Yes. Medical play Mondays, like, yeah, I already talked about that. We can skip through that. Medical, yep. Those are some activities. Healthy grandparenting, yep. See, I guess I should have waited and talked about that. That's a picture of the haunted playroom. I think that was the year that they had a giant Elmo on the hockey table and it was like his tombstone. Yeah. So, and then right beside that, see those bowls, they put like eyeballs in, which are grapes, and then they put, you know, brains in, which is spaghetti, and then they put Jello, and then they say that that's the guts. But it's really funny to watch the medical staff go through there and kind of be, you know, grossed out by that kind of stuff. And the kids get a great kick out of it. And then usually there's somebody with a couple syringes in various places squirting water at people. I will say that one of our head kahuna doctors went through it and said a really, really bad word, like the mother of all bad words, when somebody, there was a teenage boy who was kind of grabbing at people's legs as they were walking through. And this guy said a really bad word. It's like, look, so we just need to make sure that everybody, you know, is chill, and you got to remember we're PG-13 and you can say shoot or darn or fudge, but we're not going to say any bad words. So because there could be 3-year-olds in there in the corner wanting you to touch, you know, brains. Right, so we talked about camps, and we definitely have interns as a part of our planning process, you know, coming up with themes, coming up with activities, staff recruitment, sitting in on interviews, and helping us coordinate them, because there's usually 2 or 3 that happen during the time when the interns are there, so they can help us with those. So what's next? If you're interested in applying for the program, I will be back sometime in November, right? And we're going to interview people who are interested in coming next August for 8 months to Augusta, Georgia to do our internship program. Now, let's look at the first thing. It says shadow a child life specialist for 8 hours. It is with great regret that I say I'm going to have to waive this requirement for this year. Why? Because I called around to a couple other hospitals last week, and there's a lot of places that are saying, no, you can't observe, mine included. Now, maybe you're Johnny on the spot and you've already observed somebody for 8 hours. That's awesome. That's going to help you in your interview. I promise you. Okay. Now, because I'm not having you shadow for 8 hours, because nobody will take shadows at this point. We're just starting to open up the world. So hopefully this will be the last time I have to waive this requirement. You better do your homework. Make sure you know what a child life specialist does. The whole reason why we had this requirement is because I've had an intern commit to this program, find an apartment, move all of her stuff, get there, and the first day she walked into the hospital, she looked at me and she said, I don't like the smell of the hospital. Well, I can't change that, right? And you're not going to be able to be a child life specialist if you don't like the way the place smells. And oh, by the way, you're just in the lobby. You're not even in the ER where you're going to smell some stuff that you've never smelled before, right? So maybe we don't need to, this is not the career that you need to be in. I had another intern who came over to Hemon Clinic with me. It was our day 1 of the rotation, all excited. She walked into the vital sign room, and there was a 3-year-old getting their vital signs taken. Well, you know, if you've ever been around a 3-year-old, sometimes it's a good day, sometimes it's a bad day. This was a particularly bad day. And the kid was screaming bloody murder as the blood pressure cuff was squeezing his arm. And all of a sudden I look over, and the intern is like welling up and she had to leave the room. And I was like, does she know this patient? What's going on? Like, why did she get so upset about this? I found her afterwards, after we got him through the whole blood pressure, temperature thing. Okay, we're good. I went and found her and she goes, I just couldn't stand to see him sad. Okay. Well, you're gonna have a really hard time as a child life specialist, because there's gonna be times when a kid is getting an awake spinal tap in the ER and the kid's gonna be sad. It hurts really bad. The needle's this big going in your spine. There's nothing you can do to make that better, and they emergently have to do it right now to get a diagnosis. So maybe child life is not your thing. That was the whole reason, after those two instances, we made this a requirement. To make sure you know what you're getting into, to make sure you understand it's not all rainbows and unicorns, right? It is getting puked on. It is getting an ostomy bag flown and slung on down your shirt. There are some, these are sick kids that we're dealing with, right? So it's important that you know what you're walking into. The other piece is that I want to train people who want to do this forever. Like, that's my goal, that you retire as an old lady, 90 years old with your cane and say, I can't come into the hospital anymore and do this. I don't even know the latest, you know, Paw Patrol people, right? That's my goal, okay? So you need to be all in. Do your research, do your homework. There's a lot of stuff that you can find on your phone and on your computers. If you're not able to shadow a child life specialist, make sure you have a really clear understanding of the role, okay? Get as much experience with kids as you can, both well, sick kids, kids with special needs. You need to fill out the application.
The comment, the child life comment.
Correct, and you're gonna get that to Diane how?
You're actually going to, it's due on October 31st on Halloween. You can, you know, wear your Halloween costume when you deliver it if you want to. You're going to deliver it down to 123 Dawson, which is the HDFS department office. You're going to hand it to Olivia Wade, who is there. She's gonna let me know, and I will come collect them all after, but on the morning of the first.
So they have to be printed and hand delivered.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
All of
Yes.
the things that you need to get an envelope.
Including your letters of recommendation. Don't send me your letters of recommendation at the hospital. I may or may not ever see them. Our mail system is not the best. Or I'll get it like maybe next March. So it's really important that you put everything in one envelope and take it right downstairs. And we do it due on Halloween, so you remember that, right? Oh, Halloween, yeah. I gotta get that witch Kim, my application, take it downstairs, there you go.
I know one question that's come up from a couple of people is the Common App has a reference form. Do you want the reference form? Do you want a letter? Is either one okay?
Now, I will tell you that I don't want I have received them before, I don't want a reference letter from your mother. Your mother thinks you're awesome and hung the moon. I get that, right? I want a reference letter, and I don't need one from your aunt either. Okay, I need them from people that legit know your work with kids. Okay, I don't care if it's easier to not use the reference form, if it's easier to just have them write a letter, I'm cool with that, right? I just need a letter from somebody who knows your work habits, how you work with kids. Maybe you taught dancing for 10 years and you want your dance teacher, the person that coordinates the dance studio, to write you a letter. That'd be great, because that shows that you can work with kids of various ages, that you hopefully have patience, that you can do stuff like that, right? Any questions about letters of recommendation?
Well, one academic one, right?
One academic one, and it usually
It's not
can't
under-
be, okay, I wanted to make sure that you guys were off the list. Just because it's kind of a
We don't
conflict
want
of
to be
interest.
unclear and we let
Right.
some people know.
So it needs to be from somebody else, and that just needs to show that you're a good student. I will tell you that the GPA, is that on here? That's on
I
here.
don't know if it's on the slides or not. I'm gonna pull out the checklist.
Okay. There we go. You have to have at least 30 hours of classwork here at the University of Georgia. If you transfer in,
If you transfer in, we should talk and make sure that we're.
that you're cool and you have all the classes, mainly all the classes that Child Life Counselor wants you to have. Read that next one 3 times. A cumulative GPA of 3.0, not overall. If you're a 2.91, that is not a 3.0. The reason why is because this is a very rigorous program, right? And we want to make sure that you are up for working. It's like working full-time and still going to class. Working at the hospital, doing all your hours clinically and still going to class and studying medical terminology and doing your diagnosis presentation paper and doing your diagnosis vignette and doing your unit goal and doing your diagnosis of the week kind of thing. So we want to make sure. You don't have to worry about your shadow letter, but if you have one and have done that, I would definitely include it. Preferred to have taken or be enrolled in the hospitalized child class, which it sounds like you guys are. And a transcript with 3 letters of recommendation on academic, we just talked about that.
It can be an unofficial transcript. You do not have to
Yes,
pay.
unofficial. I mean, don't write it out.
No,
Like,
print it
unofficial,
from,
issued by the
but you
school.
can print it and not have to pay the university.
I took biology.
You can find your own official transcript on your thing.
One little thing about the Common App, the Child Life Common application is what everybody in anywhere in the Child Life field uses to apply for internships. There may be sections on it, particularly looking for extensive hospital experience, that you may not have. If you don't have them, just skip those sections, fill in what you do have. And give them a good picture of what you have done.
I'm an accredited internship site, so I'm required to use the common application. That's all I'll say about that. If accepted, get ready for a challenging and fun internship experience. There is my email at the bottom. You have there's no stupid questions. Please email me. I will answer to the best of my abilities.
We do also have on the website a checklist of what you need to do in your application, and that would be useful to double check as well. You want me to put that I can show them?
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
that'd probably be helpful.
While I'm doing that, you all talk to Tim and ask me questions. in the chat.
Yeah, that's really all I have. Thanks for attending my TED Talk.
I got my official transcript and it's
Yeah.
sealed in an envelope. I dual enrolled. Should I not open it to check if my dual enrollment grades are on there?
You can just put it in your thing, I would just put it in your, put in your application, and when we're opening it, we'll look and say, oh.
Okay, because I could also
But it doesn't matter, because you can give me an unofficial, so it's fine. You can open it, go ahead. Now that I just talked myself out of it, because you can pull it out yourself and put it in there, then what's the difference between her opening it and doing it? That doesn't make any sense, right? Didn't I just talk myself out of that?
Okay,
All right, just so we're clear, you can open it and put it in there.
I have it with me, so if you want to open it.
No, I believe you.
I'm going to share this on Zoom so that we have a record of it. Here, this is what the checklist looks like, and it is on the joint Child Life page on the FACTS website. And it's exactly what Kim said. It's the Common App. Do they need verification forms for volunteer hours? Okay. Academic letter of recommendation, 2 other letter transcript, and then you don't this year need the letter on letterhead if you have included.
I have a lot of the verification forms already. Should I just not turn them in
No,
if we don't need it?
go
Or
for it.
give it to you still?
It's fine.
Okay.
Yes,
If you have these things.
yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make life a little bit easier if you don't have them done. And since this year is kind of a weird year and people are really hurting for places to do their volunteer work because nobody's accepting, people are starting to open up. I'm trying to be, flexibility is key. I'm trying to be as flexible as I possibly can.
Okay.
So I'm trying to make life easier, but for sure, if you have all that stuff already done, star student, throw it in there. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Is this mostly or only done with students senior year? Or does it vary?
That's a really good question, and it varies. So I will tell you that I have had students who have just couldn't leave Athens because they're going to be the president of their sorority their senior year. And they just didn't want to miss that whole senior year experience of going to football games and doing sorority stuff and blah, 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 blah. So she actually decided to come a 5th year, but she applied and got accepted for the following year. So when it says your application will say, what year are you applying for? You can say, I don't want to come to the next year. Now, well, also what she did the president of the sorority thing. She did football games. She did all that kind of stuff, but she also got a minor while she was up here. So I can't even remember what her minor was. She was thinking about Spanish, but then I think she did special education just for funsies to have a minor in that. And then she came to our program her 5th year. So it was her 5th year senior. The only problem with that was if you are on Hope, for example, you only get so many hours of Hope. So when you come to Augusta, you still have to register for 30 credits. So you might have to find another way to pay for those if you're a Hope person and you've run out of hours. Now, a lot of my interns that come to Augusta, especially for their 4th year, still have Hope, and Hope pays for all of it because we're Augusta University is a state institution as well. So it's all good. It sometimes takes us a little bit of running around, a little bit of sitting at people in financial aid's office, trying to get answers to how do we get this process through. But we have, knock on wood, always got it taken care of. And if you still have Hope hours left, you're good to go. Okay.
And that's something I would mention about this program. If you're on the fence about applying to this program, this is one of the most cost-effective ways, particularly if you've still got Hope hours, to get your clinical training to be a child life specialist, because it is a part of your degree. You, if you go to a master's program, if you graduate from our program and get your own internship, you're going to have to pay to live in Cincinnati for 4 months and not be able to do an unpaid internship. So this is on top of everything else, it's a very cost-effective way to get the training that you need.
I will also tell you that I just came from, I presented at the Florida Association of Child Life Professionals Conference, and I sat in a student session who all of them, most of them were master's students. There were some bachelor's students there, and they were fretting about applying for internships. Mostly 40 to 50 internship applications they were submitting to all over the country. One girl said this was her 2nd round of internship applications, and she did 60 last time. She did 50 this time, and last time she got 1 phone interview and nothing else. So I will tell you that right now in the field, for some reason, it's ridiculously competitive to get an internship. There's a couple different reasons for that. There was a lot of people that left the field. There are a lot of open positions. This is a great time to graduate with a child life degree because I have an open position since January. I have worked at my job for 28 going on 29 years, and I've never had an open position for more than 2 months. I've had one since January and can't find a candidate to fill it. I got a little bit upset about that, and so I pulled up Indeed and started looking at child life specialist positions. I stopped counting at 172. So great time to be getting a job. You can go just about wherever you want. A good friend of mine is the director in Colorado, and she has 10 open positions right now. 10. She said she's never.
COVID's to blame for that, the turnover.
I think that there's a lot of reasons. There were a lot of programs that furloughed people. So a lot of people got out of the field or went into nursing or did whatever. I think that there was a lot of people that just decided they didn't want to work in child life anymore for whatever reason, and went somewhere else. There are some programs that still are not up to full staff after they were furloughed a long time ago. So I think, and I will tell you that COVID was hard. COVID was really hard. We were doing stuff, we were doing death talks with kids going to say goodbye to moms and dads several times a day. That takes an emotional toll on you if you're not used to that, ready for that. You know, everybody survived COVID as students and virtual and all that kind of stuff. We were in the thick of things dealing with literally life and death situations. And because we are affiliated with an adult hospital, we were pulled over to the adult side a whole bunch to help out with that kind of stuff and with staff and with morale and all that. So I think a lot of people just decided. The other piece is that everybody called out their internships. So we didn't have clear systems of students coming in and new grads. So everybody canceled their internships, sent everybody home. And then they couldn't train, and then they had to go back and, reapply to internships. And there weren't many staff, experienced staff that could take interns, so some of them dropped numbers as to how many interns they could take. So I think it's a variety of factors, but COVID definitely did us bad as far as that goes. And I think that that's really why there are so many positions available, honestly. So, but hopefully, I mean, it's really encouraging for the people in this room who want to be a child life specialist, because there's jobs right now, there's jobs at just about anywhere you want to go. So that's a good thing, right?
Any other questions for Kim?
Yes.
For like on the form with experience for babysitting, can I just write that as one section, or do I need to list each family that I've ever been?
I think you could just combine that into one, and
Okay.
maybe the most important part with that is probably to talk about the ages of the kids.
Okay, yeah,
And then if there's any special needs, like say a kid was, on the spectrum, that might be important, and that speaks to your ability to deal with special needs kids.
okay, so in the descriptions of things, if I worked at a camp and some of the kids were well and some of the kids were on the spectrum, would I include that in the description of some of these kids dealt with X, Y, and Z, or, okay,
I mean, I think that just speaks to your experience.
okay,
The other piece is that I read all that. So when you come and interview, I'm gonna ask you some more questions
Okay.
about that, so you can detail more about that. But if you just say that you worked at Camp Carpet, I don't know what that is. Chances are I'm gonna say, what is Camp Carpet? I don't know what that is. Can you
Yeah.
explain that to me? So,
okay, yeah. And then-
yeah, yes, it is.
For the courses in progress, we have to have those signed by all the professors that we're taking classes from, so I'm in an adolescent class right now. And Landers Potts isn't a child life specialist, so should I still have her fill out that
Yeah,
course in
if
progress?
she's teaching your class.
Okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to.
It doesn't have to be,
It's
okay.
exactly special class. One little thing for you all to know, those who are accepted into the program, there are some specific courses that you'll have to take in the spring. We are already aware of that. We've already got spots saved for to ensure that you get it. Since spring, if you are a junior, will be your last semester that you're here on campus. We're already aware you need to take interventions, you need to take therapy play, and we will have spots available for you. Particularly those of you who are juniors, and they sometimes worry, am I gonna be able to get the classes I need? We know we're gonna make sure that you have what you need before you go. Give timeline as far as when do they hear if they've been accepted?
Traditionally, I've never been allowed to send acceptance letters prior to finals. So after finals, you will get that, and I work up to and including Christmas Day. So as soon as I can get letters out, I will get them, but you will not receive it before your last final. So apparently somebody received their letter and it wasn't the result they wanted, and they sobbed through their entire hospitalized child final. So I was told that I was never allowed to send a letter before that. So that's the reasoning for that.
So you will know after finals, but before spring semester.
Before 2023, yes. And the other thing is important when you come to interview, if you have a different address that you need me to send the letter to, say you're going home for that holiday, perhaps, just let me know what your current address that you want me to send the letter to. Because there were some people who had their Athens address, and they weren't coming to check the mail in Athens. Yeah, all that.
Yeah, then they're emailing me and saying, do you know if I got accepted? And my
Yeah.
answer generally is, no, I don't.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, will there be anyone who submits an application that won't get an interview?
In the past, we have
We've generally interviewed every interview.
we review, say
Unless
you
you're
are,
wildly wild.
right, say you're a freshman, or say you're a freshman and your GPA is a 1.78 and you only have 10 classes here, I'm not gonna waste your time or mine. So I don't want to say yes, everyone gets one, but we look at the applications and just make sure everybody has those minimal qualifications. And I will interview everybody with minimal qualifications that you just saw up there. How's that? That's a good way to use.
Question.